Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and this is the series where I reveal what is inside these mystery pottery molds I found on Gumtree. Hello and welcome to mold 68. I feel like I've been on 68 for like 5 weeks now, but this is definitely mold 68. I double checked. I poured this one up. It has 2 holes, one that's kind of arched and one that's a circle, to reveal this cutie little bear with a honey pot. For those playing at home, here is the mold. It says a small sitting teddy bear. Yeah, that's it. If you want to find it, it's got quite a small honey pot, which is really cute. I'm interested to see how small this really becomes once it's shrunk in the kiln. I trim off the base and I thought, let's do one of your ideas from the previous bear. A lot of you said with that bear honey pot, like the one with the bear actually on the honey pot, not the bear that's got the separate honey pot. I feel like these two are like from the same collection. Anyway, the bear jar, you guys were like, why didn't you do Care Bears? Well, I've got you this week. I decided that I was finally going to try out this Care Bear idea, but I had the idea after I had already let them go bone dry. So be very cautious when you carve into bone dry like I'm doing now, because it's quite dusty and the dust is really bad. You want to do it when it's leather hard, and you can tell the difference with your carving because the carving shards or the carving excess looks more like a pencil shaving rather than this dusty stuff. If you do get to the point where you've got to do something bone dry, it happens. Make sure you either wear a mask or some kind of PPE to protect your lungs, but also to wet things down. Water is your best friend to keep the dust minimal. So I always have a wet sponge handy when I'm carving into sort of bone dry stuff, because sometimes the ideas flare a little bit later in life, you know? I actually thought that Care Bears were the perfect design as well, because I was really thinking I would love to do these lovely pastel-y, colourful rainbow collection of teddy bears, and I really didn't know how I was going to execute it, whether I was going to cover them with florals or whether I was going to do sort of like a splatter design or try and attempt to tie-dye. There were all these sort of ideas that I just could not decide on anything. And then when this Care Bear idea formulated, I was like, this will sort of get all that pastel-y juice and mojo out. I also considered whether I tried to do a realistic sort of looking teddy bear, not like a teddy bear is realistic, but like one that looks like a stuffed teddy bear. And I was thinking about doing like a soft brown, then doing like a brown antiquing wash to get the textures out. But then I just wanted to put color on it. I really just wanted to put color on it. And I just thought, I don't want to do that. I don't know why. I just didn't feel connected with that idea. And that's totally fine too. So with the Care Bears, I wanted to sort of appropriate the Care Bear-esque vibe. I didn't want to do an exact Care Bear, even though their little belly motifs are so cute and they have so many. I wanted to put my own flair on their belly motifs, so I've decided to do a collection of Australian native flora Care Bears. So on their bellies I am painting an Australian native flower, and then with their jar I'm matching the belly with their little jar. So I'm hoping it'll come together really, really nicely. I'm hoping it'll be a great balance between my artistic style and appropriation of the Care Bear while still paying homage to the nostalgia I associate with them. I actually have really fond memories of Care Bears. I didn't really sit down and watch it often because I don't really remember it being on TV much. But I do recall my school holidays being fond memories because my nana used to have a videotape player, and that was like the only thing as a kid that I thought was really cool. And she had like the recordings where you used to tape the TV show or the movie that was on, and you try and skip through the ads and not record the ads. But she would have these collection VCR tapes that were like 3 movies in one, and we would put them on, and one of them was a My Little Pony and Care Bear movie back to back, and I watched it on repeat. it was all we had to really watch, aside from doing crafts and arts and all the activities. But you know how you need that differential activity throughout the day to get through that stay with Nana? At the time, you don't really appreciate it, but then you look back and you go, how nice is that when we used to go to Nana's or Grandma's or the grandparents' house, and the lovely things that you used to do together that was so connected. I really enjoyed my time there, and I wish I could be a kid again just to realize how peaceful and blissful that was. I always as a kid I was like, oh, not Nana's, not Grandma's, but like now I'm just like, that was so good. Why was I complaining? It's that age-old debate of how you sort of always appreciate things more as time goes on, or as your life shifts and changes and you realize, I guess, the peace and the bliss that something had given you, or the growth something had given you, and you sort of don't realize it until after the fact. It's a really interesting part of the human condition, I think. Anyway, back to the painting. So I added the 4 pastel-y colours onto the bears. They will become quite vibrant once the glaze goes on. And so what I did after that is I mixed the main colour with white to make a more pastel colour to go on the ears, schnoz and the little paw pads. I also touched up the belly with some white to make it really crisp and bright, and did their eyes. I also added some black details by doing the mouth and their eyes as well. And I did a little love heart nose in the base colour of each bear so that it really popped and connected with the colouring. Once I had finished adding all the details on the bears, it was time to do their little bellies. I don't know what they call them on the bellies, but like their positive strength symbol. I'm not sure. I tried looking it up and it just said a symbol that represents who they are. So maybe we'll go with that. I added each floral to the belly and then did a matching jar with it. My one big regret, I will say now, is that I didn't paint the honey drips on the jars, because I was like, oh, I'll go with a really minimal look, but I actually regret not adding like a little yellow highlight to those drips, because it kind of just looks like a blob on the finished piece. But you'll see that in a minute. I'll paint these first. So the first Care Bear I do with a golden wattle design. The second is a flower and gum. I'm probably not saying these in order, but anyway. The third is a blue bluebell, which goes on the blue bear. And then for the green one, I was going to do maybe some gum leaves, but then I thought the golden wattle, I had already featured these quite lovely flowy leaves. They're not gum leaves, but they've got a nice leafy detail here. And then on the flower and gum, I also included gum leaves. So I was like, I think we've had enough with the leaves. So I decided to do a grevillea, which I haven't done in ages, like since I first started doing pottery. So I did a grevillea design, which is this curly whirly kind of, if you haven't heard of them before, they're similar to a bottle brush in their sort of stem sort of structure and how they sort of fan out. But instead of having like a straight fluffy fan out, they've kind of got this curly whirly vibrant, it sort of spirals out a little bit, and I love grevilleas because I always see birds sucking the nectar out of them, and they're always got so many bees on them, and their colors are so gorgeous. So I did a little grevillea design on the green bear. So I'll let you enjoy some painting this week. I haven't chimed out in a little while because I've been so chatty lately, but enjoy some painting footage and I'll chime back in when it's time to glaze. Okay, time to dunk these guys into their shiny vibrancy liquid. So I dunk them all in, I touch up the areas and make sure to sponge down the base. You can glaze the base of pieces. I just opt not to. If you're going to glaze the pieces on the base, you have to put them on stilts so that they don't stick, and you do get the little pinholes from the stilts on the base of the piece still. It's a total personal preference thing. I just prefer to have the unglazed base, and I also think it feels a lot nicer on shelves and benches and things like that where it doesn't slip and slide around. So I pop that into the kiln. It goes for 12 hours and then 12 hours of cooling. And here is the kiln opening, finished results time. All the video that we've just watched is paying off, and you're getting to see the results in 13 minutes instead of the week that it took me. That sounded so sarcastic, but it's true. It took me a week, and this is a 13-minute video, and I'm always like, wow, that took so long, and you've put it into 10 minutes. Nice. Let's have a look at these finished cuties. So first up we have the Bluebell Bear. I didn't mention this before because I was actually quite nervous about the pigment. You know how I talk about the pigment and I really want it to be a very solid color? I actually was for sure, I was so certain that this was going to be patchy. Every single one was going to be patchy. I was certain of it because I kept adding coats and it kept looking like it wasn't thick enough, but oh, I'm so happy with these. They look great. I'm really happy with the pigment on them. I think it also helps that they're textured, that sort of, I guess, muddy look of the underglaze where it's not completely dense and populated in the pigment. It does add to it because it just feels like the shadows and highlights of the texture and the depth of that. So I really love how the coloring came out. I love their matching jars and their bellies. I said before, I do regret not adding that sort of little bit of honey detail that was dripping out of the jars. Like I did rub out the honey, or carve out the honey on the jars so that they could be their own like mini versions of the jars that I made before. But I just thought because I took the honey off, I didn't need to detail it. But I think it would have really enhanced that little pot a little bit more. These are just so sweet and a very cute set. I'm very happy with these. Individually, I love them, but together they are magnificent. I can literally see a whole rainbow of a various kind of native florals. I've barely even scratched the surface with these 4 designs of all the native florals you could do and all the colors. It would just be such a cool collection to create, I think. I also just think in general this mold is very lovely. The little jar itself is 2 centimeters tall, which is so cute and dainty. I feel like these are so open in a way that their design is always tasteful, like it always has a tasteful face. It always has a tasteful posture, and it just doesn't really date in that sense, which I really love. Some of the molds could be a little bit, I guess, like maybe tacky now, maybe faded. The designs were very in and a niche sort of trend that were happening. Some of them even bordered on creepy. So I'm just so stoked that this mold is just timeless, I feel. I'm going to appreciate things whilst they're here. I can't believe I made these bears this week. How cute are they? Let me know what you think of the mold in the comments. Thank you for watching, and here's your sneak peek for next week's reveal.